Now the first question, let's go ahead and jump into it. Phil asks, I currently white label my services for another company and they are dealing with some pretty big clients. What are your thoughts on white labeling? So I'll tell you a couple scenarios. I don't like white labeling. I didn't like people white labeling my services. And the reason being is and we work with some of the biggest agencies in the world would white label our services when we were small, okay? Because we were good at some of these services and we were cheap, I guess, right? So they could mark it up. But the problem is they want you to follow their process. And their process is actually broken. And if their process wasn't broken, they would probably be doing it themselves. Like, they're coming to you and they're going to want you to use their process, which is broken. Doesn't make much sense, right? And so a lot of times too, as you're following their broken process, that's going to take you out of your game, create a lot more work than it would. So case in point, let's say we were doing a website white label project. We would want to meet with the client, have them go through what we called our mission plan document, be able to ask that client questions in order to interpret what they wanted. Well, the bigger agency would just say, well, send us the document, we'll go through it. Well, they're not going to answer it the way you need in order to design what you want. Same thing goes with when you start creating the concepts and you want to present those concepts to that particular client. The bigger agency is going to say, just send us the concepts, we'll present it, and then we'll give you feedback. They're going to give you broken feedback, right? There's going to be a lot of loss in translation or a lot of things that you would probably want to ask them in the meeting based on what they're saying. Like they'll just say, oh no, the client just hates all the concepts. Rather than really drill it down into one particular thing, maybe it was a color, maybe it was a picture that you used in the concept that threw them off for the whole thing, right? And so they're not going to be following your process. So I didn't like white labeling. I liked partnering with agencies, but I would always say, look, you got to tell them who we are, and we have to have direct contact with that particular account. We'll sign NDAs or anything like that, so we're not going to steal them from you, but they're going to know Solar Velocity exists, right? And that always helped us out. And the other thing too is when you're white labeling your services, you're not going to be able to tell people you worked on that project. You're not going to be able to show that as examples of your work. Most of the bigger agencies are going to say, no, you cannot say you worked for Hitachi or AT&T. And if you do, then they could come after you for legal stuff that you don't want because they have a lot deeper pockets than you actually do. So I would tell you not to white label, even though it might be a significant amount of your revenue. I would try to change the relationship where they're telling people, yes, our strategic partner that we use is Solar Velocity. We are going to be billing you directly for this, but Solar Velocity is going to be doing the actual work and we're going to be managing them. That's fine. Then you could go to the client, you can be in the meetings, you can use it on the portfolio, and then possibly you could talk to the agency about like, look, we need to make sure we follow our process, and you need to make sure that they will. And if they don't, have an out, because they're just going to eat you up in the scope creep. I bet if you looked at the projects you're doing for the bigger agencies, you're not as profitable as going direct. I want you to join the conversation. Make sure you comment and subscribe. Thanks for giving me your most valuable asset, your time.